Hello, everybody. It's Adam with the Pattaya News. Today is October 5th, 2023, and I'm coming to you with our weekly recap of what's popping in Pattaya. Over the past several weeks, we've focused mostly on one topic, and this week we're going to do the same. And the topic of this particular week is a very sad one. As most of our readers are likely aware, there was another shooting. This is basically the third in about 3.5 years at a mall in Bangkok, in which 2 people tragically lost their lives and at least 5 people were injured. Now, to begin with, when I say this is the third shooting, this is actually the second one at a mall. In early 2020, actually just before the COVID-19 crisis hit, there was a major shooting at a Terminal 21 in Korat, which was really Thailand's first major mass shooting. This particular incident took over 24 lives and dominated the headlines, obviously, for a couple of weeks. But then COVID pretty much pushed it out of the headlines, and a lot of the conversations about potential measures to be put in place to prevent these actions from happening again kind of fell out of the press. And then, almost 1 year to this day, actually possibly on the day you'll be watching this, October 6, 2022, there was another tragic mass shooting, this one mostly children, which took place in northern central Thailand, and primarily took place in and around a child development center, in which, again, over 24 people lost their lives, and brought up huge conversations, not just about what measures may have to be put in place to stop these incidents from happening, but also what sort of emergency services were in place to alert people about these situations happening, and as well, how media, like us, should act in these circumstances. So anybody who's watched us for a while knows that I'm from America, although I've lived in Thailand full-time about a decade now and have not been back recently. And unfortunately, these incidents are fairly common in America. Now, in Thailand, these incidents are obviously not as common, despite a large amount of guns in the country. People ask a lot about Thailand's gun laws. We're not going to go too much into that subject on this particular video, other than to state that the problem in Thailand isn't necessarily so much the gun laws, which are stricter than probably most people think, but the problem is that over 90% of the firearms in Thailand are unlicensed, which goes back to a situation that is often the case here in Thailand. It goes back to the problem that enforcement seems to be the issue, and not so much the actual laws or rules or restrictions around whether one should or should not be able to carry a firearm or purchase a firearm in Thailand. Now, I also want to add something before we get into this specific incident that took place this week at the Siam Paragon Mall located in Bangkok. I wanted to add that this same week, 2 people lost their lives and 12 people were injured in Saraburi, which we also reported on our news, and I'll put the link in on YouTube, in a safety-related accident in which the local provincial electric authority was installing new power poles, and 13 power poles collapsed, leading to, as stated, 2 deaths and 12 injuries. This was actually basically the same day that this tragic incident occurred in Bangkok. There was also the same hour the shooting took place. The roof of basically one of the major stadiums in Bangkok collapsed due to heavy rains. Luckily, only 2 people suffered very minor injuries, and there was actually a major sporting event that was scheduled to just begin. Actually, it was a disabled sporting event with people in wheelchairs, and they just missed the stadium roof collapsing. So the reason I mentioned these 2 incidents happening in the same period is they kind of got pushed out of the press by the shooting, but we wanted to mention them because a lot of times these safety-related issues that cost so many lives, just like traffic-related issues, are also not focused on enough as to how to prevent these from continuing to happen. And we also want to hear from you in the comments. How does this happen? Obviously, how can change happen? Obviously, in terms of cultural differences and in terms of really reiterating what will happen, it's not going to be an overnight change. It's probably going to be years and years, as it was in many other Western countries. But Thailand is quickly learning that, change needs to come sooner than later. Now, as for the specific Siam Paragon shooting, what happened in this particular incident, and what will be a big discussion point, is a 14-year-old boy who had purchased a blank gun online and modified the blank gun to take real bullets, had gone to Siam Paragon and shot and killed, tragically, a Chinese tourist, a female who had her 2 young daughters in the mall with her. The daughters were not injured, as well as a Burmese worker who worked at a toy store in the mall. Also, as stated, at least 5 people were injured, 2 of them severely. The suspect did not know the victims. This led to the day of the shooting incident, videos all over social media of people fleeing the mall in terror, bringing back memories, again, of both the Saraburi incident, but more pointedly, the incident as stated at Terminal 21 in Concurrent, which saw similar videos of people fleeing the mall. And the 14-year-old actually called police services and surrendered himself. He was actually captured inside a furniture store in the mall after calling to turn himself in, laying his weapon down, and the police officers that apprehended him were actually given a lot of praise. So were, by the way, the security officers at the mall who stayed behind despite risk to themselves and helped evacuate the mall and get everybody out that they could safely. Of course, many people actually closed the shutters to their shops, employees, and many people hid in other areas, including survivor stories that are coming out now of people that hid in restrooms right near where the 2 people were shot and killed tragically, and actually hid inside bathroom stalls with up to 10 other people, terrified for their lives. Now, as stated, the shooter was 14 years old, a minor, which immediately brought out concern in Thailand because under Thai law, the way it's written, it's very limited what Thai law provides for people of that age in terms of punishment. Now, according to police, they're going to push ahead with trying to hold the teenager accountable, and they're definitely not releasing him. That was the first fear, is that police would release him after 24 hours because of the way Thai law is written for juvenile offenders. That's not going to happen. Although the juvenile, whose name has been withheld due to his age, and we would not name his name anyways, even if we were able to, as we don't want to glorify the shooter, he was moved to a psychiatric hospital, and according to police, they believe he has schizophrenia. It's unclear whether or not this will lead to him possibly getting a lenient sentence or not sentenced at all. Again, that's going to be a big discussion point in the news over the next several weeks, is what sort of punishment should be in place for somebody at his age who may have a legitimate mental illness. Now, on Thai social media, this has brought a lot of discussion about a somewhat similar case, a school shooting in America with a person named Ethan Crumbley, who is, at the time of the shooting, was 15 years old, is now 17 years old, and is going to face life in prison without parole after a judge did deem him able to be tried despite mental illness. But the Ethan Crumbley case, and the reason I'm mentioning it here in this video, also brought a historic first in America, the parents of the offender being charged as well and currently in court. In fact, the Supreme Court rejected an appeal by the parents to try to get them off of being held accountable, and are also going to be held liable for the actions taken by their son, specifically in the fact that, according to the court and the judge, they basically ignored signs of mental illness of their son and signs of violence. Now, the reason Thais and many Thais on social media have been talking about that, of course, is questions about the parents of this particular shooter. The parents of the shooter, whose names have also been withheld, have released brief statements basically stating that they did not live with the son, and the son lived with a condo, and they only saw him once a month. And so therefore, according to the parents, they should not be held liable. A lot of people disagree with that. Of course, we're not going to state what I believe or what the news believes, but we do want to hear what you believe. It's also unclear if the son was actually living in a condo alone, paid for by the parents at 14. There's going to be a lot of questions in the next couple weeks, and a lot of questions about what should be done, what charges will happen. There's also the fact that the Thai Prime Minister has stated that Thailand really needs a working emergency alert system. They're looking at South Korea as an example to warn people of these incidents when they're happening and not rely on the media or TikTok or whatever it is to tell people what's going on. Anyways, we wanted to clearly state that our condolences are with all the victims of these incidents, and we sincerely wish them to rest in peace. Thank you for taking the time to watch us and join us this week. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.